Hi everybody, this is Alchemist2, and I'm back again with another book review. This is a very concise, well thought out book. It's very descriptive, and it's nothing short of fascinating. It's 359 pages, including the index, and it's divided into 3 parts. Part 1 is about the other brain, which the author, Dr. R. Douglas Fields, speaks of Glia, which upon his discovery he has concluded that glial cells are more important than neurologists originally concluded, and they may play a part in synthesizing different elements in our mind. They may play a part in our learning. They do play a part in our immune system, because there's not just one immune system in this body, which I had always been taught ever since I was little. It was something that I ascribed to and I didn't question. And upon reading this book, I was given the insight in seeing that the glia themselves, they act as an overseer of the mind, and they can detect anything that is not part of the self. If it's a foreign body that comes in, and the brain isn't used to it, the glia can detect it and obliterate it. But it also plays a role in degenerative diseases like Parkinsons and ALS and AIDS. Also, glia plays a part in addiction. Nobody really knows why, the reason that this is, because this is an area that hasn't really been studied all that much. It was the neuron that was thought to be the big powerhouse of the mind, but it's actually the glia. And the glia makes up the white matter, which makes up over half of what's in our brains. And this is just completely staggering. I thought it was something that I never really comprehended until now. And it speaks of memory and the blood-brain barrier. And if you've taken anatomy and physiology like I have, and you adore the brain as much as I do, I'm absolutely just taken by the brain and its power and the ability that it possesses, and the fact of the matter that we can only scratch the surface of it. It's just the tip of the iceberg. And this describes that in detail. And it said one of the main components that was most important is adenosine triphosphate, which is also responsible for excitatory responses in, I'm sorry, I get tongue-tied, forgive me, with your muscles. So you have flexion and then contraction, flexion, contraction. Without the ATP, you don't have that. And same thing with your brain. They don't really understand how the glia work in and of themselves. They think that they are not electrical, and that they might transfer impulses some other way, but how they do so is not yet known. They talk about Alzheimer's. They talk about addiction responses. They speak of oxytocin, melatonin, just different elements in the brain that it's really just unbelievable how these certain things occur. Like a mother doesn't know how to birth her child. This all happens as a part of a reflex, and these chemicals are secreted, and it causes the uterus to expand and contract, and then you have a healthy birth. just wonder to me. That's always been something that has just bewildered me beyond anything, and it just goes beyond my my comprehension as a human being even. And he speaks of that, and he says that science itself is only beginning to really grasp all these concepts, and they need the proper funding to really study the glial cells. And it goes back to Theodor Schwann, who discovered Schwann cells. Very, very important. They also think that those are an integral part of the mind, because they're more than just myelinating cells, according to this book. The brain in and of itself is a very streamlined entity. I'm not going to call it an organ, because I don't think it is an organ. I think it is more than that. And you also have, from what I have learned in other studies I'm doing a study on the magical mind, magical body, which is done by Dr. Deepak Chopra. He speaks of the fact that we have neuroreceptors in our heart and neuroreceptors in our stomach. Some of them have they are less developed than those that are in our mind, so they're more visceral. I think they're more part of the limbic system. The limbic system is that fight or flight, that impulsive response that you will receive if you don't feel comfortable in a certain situation, and you think to yourself, I shouldn't be here, I should run. That's part of that. And gut instinct is not a saying. It's actual. It's fact. And same thing with your heart. If you have a happy heart, a sad heart, those are the neuroreceptors talking. And there's memory here as well. That's why the word record is very fascinating. It means which means again, and core is the heart. So you're taking it back again to your heart. Of course, I get that from Vsauce. Thank you, Vsauce. I know a little Latin, though, so I did remember my Latin roots. And this book is just absolutely incredible. And I know it might be a little bit dense reading, but this is completely worth it. If you are a fan of the human mind and what I believe makes us truly human and higher than other animals in our thought processes, and why other mammals may have more or less, we don't really know yet. This is an area of discovery, which makes it all that much more exciting. And it's just a sparkling avenue of discovery and adventure, I think, and it just makes me feel all the more eager to find out what they will what they will uncover in the future. And hopefully, like the author says, they will be able to have proper funding in order to do the proper research on Glia. And right now they really don't. So it's very frustrating to know that glial cells in and of themselves are beneficent and malevolent at the same time, because they can identify anything not of the self and attack it, like white. Well, there are a lot of microglia cells are actually cousin to white blood cells, which I didn't know before. I thought, ooh, that is intriguing. Imagine that. And they will form a armada against any cell that is not normal, that comes into the body, a foreign entity, so to speak, and just obliterate it, just attack it. And I just thought that was the most amazing thing that I had ever heard. It's this brilliant how the mind works. It's just completely marvelous, and it's a new era for all of us. And seeing this um, coming to our our knowledge, I think, will enlighten us as to who we are, where we've come from, who we can be, and how to stop our glia from destroying themselves. Basically, same thing with just the neurogenerative uh, disorders that occur with age. And I think the thing that we really have to be careful of free radicals and oxidization. That's why you're hearing so much about flavonoids and calcium, magnesium, zinc, uh, antioxidants such as green tea, which is a cleansing agent, which I absolutely love. Blueberries, strawberries, grapes, anything with a dark color skin like pomegranate, anything alkaline like watermelon. All these really healthy foods are absolutely excellent for you, and things that'll help your heart like olive oil, olives, anything involved with that sort of family, that's helpful. Garlic, oregano, different kinds of spices. Spices are very good for your brain because they keep your neurons or synapses on their toes. You never know what you're going to have the next day. Always eat something different. Don't keep yourself on the same routine. And laugh. Laughter is extremely important. It's essential. If you don't have a sense of humor, you might as well be dead, in my in my humble opinion. But just, you can't be so serious all the time. If you're serious, then you're going to create so much stress for yourself that you're going to wear yourself out before your time. Ooh, factoids. There are so many factoids in this book that are just utterly mind-boggling. Pardon the pun. 24 years of your life you spend asleep. And I know a friend of mine would love to hear this because she's a big fan of Oniruism, which is the study of dreams. And they don't know that much about what occurs in the mind during the state of sleep, other than REM, delta, beta, actually, excuse me, not beta, theta. It's actually theta and delta. Delta is the deepest sleep that you can have. The restorative sleep. That's delta. There is so much information in this book, and it's quite a lot to take in, and it would be, probably days for me to discuss the whole content of it. But it's a research. It is a book of research, not just a light read. But if you're intrigued about the brain itself, the structure thereof, the cells that make up the brain, aging of the brain, just glia themselves, which is the whole crux of the book, and the research that this man has dedicated his life to, and others as well. I had to give my credit where credit is due. It is by far the best book that I've read this whole summer, and I can't say anything else more about it other than I would certainly look it over and read it, because it will just absolutely knock your socks off.